Practical English Podcast.
Welcome to today's listening practice session. Before we begin, let me ask you a few questions to think about. Do you feel comfortable having everyday conversations in English? When was the last time you spoke English outside of class? What stops you from practicing more often? In this episode, we're focusing on daily conversational English, the kind of English you need when you're at work, shopping, or meeting new people. This is not about grammar rules or textbook exercises. This is about real communication in real situations. Let's start building your confidence together. Every conversation needs a beginning, and the way you start can set the tone for everything that follows. When you meet someone, you might say, "Hello, how are you today?" Or, "Hi, great to see you." These greetings are universal. They work in almost any situation. But here's something important. In English-speaking cultures, these greetings are often followed by small talk. You might ask, "How was your weekend?" Or, "Did you do anything interesting lately?" These questions show you're interested in the person. They're not just formalities. Let's practice a few opening phrases together. "Good morning. It's nice to meet you." "Hey, how have you been?" "Hi there. I haven't seen you in a while." Notice how each greeting has a slightly different energy. "Good morning. It's nice to meet you" is more formal. You might use this at work or with someone older. "Hey, how have you been?" is casual. This works with friends or colleagues you know well. The key is matching your greeting to the situation. Now, let's talk about what comes next. After you greet someone, you need to keep the conversation moving forward. One technique is to ask open questions. These are questions that need more than yes or no answers. Instead of, "Did you have a good weekend?" try, "What did you do this weekend?" The first question can be answered with just yes. The second question invites the person to share a story. This makes the conversation richer and more natural. Once you've started a conversation, the challenge is keeping it going smoothly. Think about conversations like a river. The water needs to keep flowing. If it stops, the conversation feels awkward. One way to maintain flow is through what I call conversation bridges. These are phrases that connect one topic to another. For example, someone tells you they went to the beach last weekend. You could say, "Speaking of the beach, have you tried that new seafood restaurant downtown?" You've created a bridge from beach to seafood restaurant. Another bridge phrase is, "That reminds me of something." If someone mentions traveling, you might say, "That reminds me of a trip I took last year. I visited a small mountain village and met the most interesting people." These bridges prevent those uncomfortable silences that can happen in conversations. Let me share another technique. It's called echoing. When someone shares information, you repeat part of it back in a question form. They say, "I've been really busy with my new project." You respond, "A new project? That sounds interesting. What kind of project is it?" By echoing "new project," you show you're listening and you're interested in learning more. This technique works especially well when you're not sure what to say next. It gives you time to think while keeping the conversation active. Now, let's talk about showing engagement. When someone is speaking, you can use small verbal signals to show you're listening. Phrases like, "I see," or "That's interesting," or "Really?" keep the speaker motivated to share more. These are called conversation encouragers, and they're essential for natural dialogue.
Your vocabulary determines how precisely you can express yourself. But here's what many learners don't realize. You don't need to know thousands of words. You need to know the right words and how to use them. Let's focus on practical phrases for daily situations. When you want to show agreement, you can say, "I completely agree." "You're absolutely right. That's exactly how I feel." Each of these has a slightly different strength. I completely agree is strong and confident. You're absolutely right gives full credit to the other person's idea. That's exactly how I feel adds personal emotion. Now, disagreeing politely is an art. In English, we often soften disagreement to maintain good relationships. Instead of saying, that's wrong, try, I see your point, but I think differently about this. That's an interesting perspective. My view is slightly different. I understand where you're coming from, though I'd approach it another way. Notice how each phrase acknowledges the other person before presenting your different opinion. This is called diplomatic disagreement, and it's crucial for professional and social situations. Let's practice transitioning between topics. Sometimes conversations naturally shift from one subject to another. You can guide these transitions smoothly. Use phrases like, on a related note, or that brings up another question, or changing the subject slightly. These phrases signal to the listener that you're moving to a new idea while maintaining connection to what was said before. Listening is just as important as speaking, maybe even more important. When you listen actively, you're not just waiting for your turn to talk. You're processing what the other person says and responding thoughtfully. Here's how to develop active listening. First, focus completely on the speaker. Put away your phone, make eye contact, show with your body that you're present. Second, don't interrupt. Let them finish their thought completely before you respond. Third, ask clarifying questions if you don't understand something. You might say, could you explain what you mean by that? I want to make sure I understand. Are you saying... Can you give me an example? These questions show respect and genuine interest. Let me share a listening technique that's particularly helpful. When someone finishes speaking, pause for 1 or 2 seconds before responding. This pause serves 2 purposes. It shows you're thinking about what they said, and it prevents you from accidentally interrupting if they're just taking a breath. Another aspect of listening is recognizing emotional tone. Sometimes the words people use don't match their emotional state. Someone might say, I'm fine, but their voice sounds sad. A good listener notices this and might gently ask, are you sure you seem a bit down? This level of attention strengthens connections and shows genuine care. Words are only part of communication. Your body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice carry meaning too. In fact, research suggests that more than half of communication is nonverbal. Let's explore this. Eye contact is powerful. In most English-speaking cultures, looking someone in the eye shows confidence and honesty. But there's a balance. Too much eye contact can feel aggressive. Too little can seem dishonest or disinterested. The right amount? Look at someone's eyes while they're speaking. When you're thinking or speaking yourself, it's natural to look away briefly, then return to eye contact. Your posture matters too. Standing or sitting up straight shows confidence. Leaning slightly towards someone shows interest. Crossing your arms can seem defensive or closed off. Keeping your arms relaxed and open appears more friendly. Now, let's talk about tone of voice. The same words can mean completely different things depending on how you say them. That's great, said with enthusiasm, means you're genuinely happy. That's great, said flatly, might indicate sarcasm or disappointment. Practice varying your tone to match your intended meaning. When telling a story, add energy to your voice. When expressing sympathy, soften your tone. When making a point, add emphasis to key words. Idioms add color to your English. They make you sound more natural and fluent. An idiom is a phrase where the meaning isn't clear from the individual words. For example, break the ice doesn't mean literally breaking frozen water. It means making people feel comfortable in a new social situation. You might use it like this. The host told a funny joke to break the ice at the party. Another common idiom is get the ball rolling, which means to start something. Let's get the ball rolling on this project. Who wants to share ideas first? Here's an important point about idioms. Don't overuse them. Sprinkling in one or two during a conversation sounds natural. Using too many sounds forced. Let me share some useful idioms for work situations. Touch base means to have a quick conversation or check-in. On the same page means everyone understands and agrees. Think outside the box means to think creatively. For social situations, try these. Catch up means to talk with someone you haven't seen recently. Hang out means to spend casual time together. Hit it off means to become friends quickly with someone new. Practice using these in sentences until they feel comfortable. Stories make conversations memorable. They create emotional connections and help people understand your experiences. Good storytelling in conversation follows a simple structure. Start with a hook. This grabs attention. Something funny happened to me yesterday. I had the strangest experience last week. Let me tell you about a challenge I faced. These opening lines make people curious to hear more. Next, provide context. Where were you? Who was involved? I was at the grocery store, pushing my cart down the frozen food aisle. Then share the main event. This is the heart of your story. Suddenly, I noticed a small child standing alone, crying. I looked around but couldn't see any parents nearby. Include sensory details. What did you see, hear, or feel? The child's face was red, tears streaming down. Other shoppers were walking past, but no one was stopping. Finally, conclude with the outcome and perhaps a reflection. After a few minutes, we found his mother in the next aisle. She was so relieved, and the little boy's tears turned to smiles. It reminded me how important it is to help others, even in small ways. Notice how this structure creates a complete narrative arc. When you tell stories in English, don't worry about using perfect grammar. Focus on communicating the experience clearly and engaging your listener.
Let's practice real-life situations. We'll start with ordering at a coffee shop. Imagine you walk into your local cafe. The barista greets you. You might say, "Good morning. I'd like a medium cappuccino, please." The barista asks, "Would you like any flavor added?" You respond, "Yes, could I have vanilla? And make it with oat milk instead of regular milk, if that's possible." Notice the polite language. Could I have? And if that's possible, show courtesy. The barista says, "Of course. Anything else?" You add, "Actually, yes. Do you have any pastries that are fresh today? We just baked blueberry muffins this morning." "Perfect. I'll take one of those as well, please." This simple interaction contains several conversational skills. You made your main request clearly, you asked follow-up questions, you used polite language, and you confirmed your order. Now, let's imagine a slight complication. The barista says, "I'm sorry, we're out of oat milk. Would almond milk work for you?" This is a perfect chance to practice flexibility in conversation. You could respond, "Oh, that's all right. Almond milk is fine, thank you." Or, if you have dietary restrictions, "I'm actually allergic to almonds. Could I have soy milk instead?" The key is responding naturally to unexpected changes without getting flustered. Another common situation is bumping into neighbors. You're checking your mailbox and you see your neighbor doing the same. You start, "Hi there, beautiful day, isn't it?" They respond, "It really is. Perfect weather for being outside." You continue, "I've been meaning to introduce myself. I'm Mia. I moved into apartment 3B about a month ago." "Nice to meet you, Mia.
I'm in 3D, right across the hall. Welcome to the building. Thank you. How long have you lived here? About 3 years now. It's a great neighborhood, very quiet and friendly. That's wonderful to hear. I was hoping it would be peaceful. By the way, is there a good grocery store nearby? There's an excellent one about 2 blocks south. They have fresh produce and reasonable prices. I can't remember the exact name, but you can't miss it. It has a green awning. That's helpful. Thank you so much. I'll check it out this weekend. No problem. If you ever need any recommendations or have questions about the area, just knock. I really appreciate that. Have a great day. You too. This conversation demonstrates several important skills. The greeting was warm and weather-related, which is common small talk. The introduction was natural, including your name and apartment number. You asked a practical question about the neighborhood, which gave the neighbor a chance to be helpful. And you ended with gratitude and a friendly closing. Let's practice real-life situations. We'll start with ordering at a coffee shop. Imagine you walk into your local cafe. The barista greets you. You might say, "Good morning. I'd like a medium cappuccino, please." The barista asks, "Would you like any flavor added?" You respond, "Yes. Could I have vanilla? And make it with oat milk instead of regular milk, if that's possible?" Notice the polite language. Could I have? And if that's possible, show courtesy. The barista says, "Of course. Anything else?" You add, "Actually, yes. Do you have any pastries that are fresh today? We just baked blueberry muffins this morning." Perfect. I'll take one of those as well, please. This simple interaction contains several conversational skills. You made your main request clearly. You asked follow-up questions. You used polite language. And you confirmed your order. Now let's imagine a slight complication. The barista says, "I'm sorry, we're out of oat milk. Would almond milk work for you?" This is a perfect chance to practice flexibility in conversation. You could respond, "Oh, that's all right. Almond milk is fine. Thank you." Workplace conversations require a slightly more formal approach, but they're still conversational. Imagine you're in the break room and a colleague walks in. You say, "Morning, Alex. How's your week going so far?" "Pretty busy. We have that big presentation on Friday, so I'm preparing for that. How about you?" Similar situation here. "I've been working on the marketing report. Actually, I wanted to ask your opinion about something." "Sure, what's up?" "I'm trying to decide between 2 approaches for the social media campaign. Do you have a minute to look at some ideas?" "Absolutely. Let me grab my coffee and we can chat." "Great, thanks. I really value your perspective on these things." Notice the professional but friendly tone. You acknowledge their busy schedule. You ask permission before requesting their time, and you expressed appreciation for their help. Later, after they've helped you, you follow up. "Thanks so much for your input, Alex. That really helped clarify which direction to take." "No problem at all. Let me know how it turns out." "I definitely will, and if you need a second opinion on your presentation, I'm happy to help." "I might take you up on that. We'll let you know." This exchange shows reciprocity. You're willing to help in return for the help you received. This builds good working relationships. We've covered a lot today. Let's recap the essential skills for daily conversational English. Start conversations with appropriate greetings and follow-up questions. Keep conversations flowing with bridges, echoing, and engagement phrases. Build your vocabulary with practical expressions for agreeing, disagreeing, and transitioning topics. Actively listen by focusing completely, avoiding interruptions, and asking clarifying questions. Pay attention to nonverbal communication through eye contact, posture, and tone of voice. Use idioms naturally to add color to your speech. Tell stories with a clear structure that include hooks, context, events, and conclusions. Handle real-life scenarios like coffee shops, meeting neighbors, and workplace interactions with appropriate language for each setting. The most important thing to remember is this: conversation is about connection, not perfection. Every time you speak English, even if you make mistakes, you're building confidence and improving your skills. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start having conversations now. Practice with anyone who will listen. Join language exchange groups. Talk to yourself in English at home. Use English in shops and restaurants when you can. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Thank you for spending this time practicing listening and learning today. Remember, fluency comes from consistent practice, not perfect grammar. Keep listening, keep practicing, keep improving. See you in the next session.